Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another episode of the Minecraft Survival Let's Play. And before I get on with today's episode, I quickly want to say a few things. So I did take a little bit of a break from the game in between recording the last episode and starting this one. I just put so much time and effort into the last episode and then it took me like a week to edit that. So I just got a little bit burnt out and I needed a bit of a break. And something I forgot to mention at the end of that episode is that I did collect all of these sculk catalysts. Of course, I went around and I killed 10 of every mob if you missed that episode. And I do plan to make a museum on this world. I've mentioned this before. I think I'm going to make it like down here somewhere. And I just want to collect a bunch of trophies, and I have collected a bunch of trophies from my time on the world. So like I got my first original wooden pickaxe there. My first ever diamond, so I do want to put all of that on display when I eventually build the museum somewhere down there. And I'm also going to add the 10 nether stars and then the 10 warden heads as well. So that's the reason I wanted to collect them, and that's why I've named them. So I'm going to keep these safe somewhere until I get on with that project. And I did say that I took a break in between the last episode and this episode, but I have come on to do a few of the grindy projects. And I also did this. So this is the best set of the worst gear. So of course this is some leather armor, and then I've also got some wooden tools, and all of these have the best possible enchantments. Maybe there's some enchantments that people might not put on there, or some extra enchantments someone might put on there, but I think I pretty much got the best enchantments for all of these. So of course to get this gear I started off by crafting it in the crafting table. I decided to add the silence armor trim to it just because that was the rarest or the hardest for me to find. And then of course I had to give the armor a netherite trim just to make it a little bit extra special. And then I had to go over to my villager trading hall to trade for all of the different books that I was going to need for all of this gear. This part probably took the longest out of the entire process. And once I had all of the books, I could head over to my XP farm. And it didn't take long to get all of the XP I needed to apply all of the books to each piece. So yeah, I've got the best set of the worst gear. This is something else I want to put on display in the museum when I eventually build it. And I did get this idea from ZF quite a long time ago now. I think he did it in like season 7 of Hermitcraft or something. But the reason I decided to do it now is because if you did watch the last episode, I actually died on this world for the first time and I lost all of my levels. You'll see now I'm level 44. When I was like level 3000 and something before. But yeah, because I lost all of my levels, I thought it would be a good time to finally get the best set of the worst gear. So I went ahead and did that. And two other things I'll quickly mention here is I started eating golden apples. It's not really a big deal. I've always eaten golden carrots on this world, but I thought I'd finally just upgrade to golden apples. I don't usually like the buff effects that it gives, like the particle effects that you get on the screen. But I can just deal with that. I've got plenty of golden apples here and I can craft plenty more. But people are always telling me that I should eat golden apples, so I'm going to start doing that. And the final thing that some of you might have noticed is that I changed my GUI size. So that's just kind of like the hotbar and stuff at the bottom. It's just a little bit smaller now. And that's just because it was kind of annoying when I was changing between weapons and tools. And the text on the screen was getting in the way. So this is what it looked like before, and this is how I've used it for as long as I've ever played Minecraft. But you can see that when I change between my tools or my gear, it just takes up so much of the screen with the enchantments. But now I use it like this, it's taking up much less of the screen. I'm not a huge fan of how small it is when you open chests, like it's a lot smaller than I'm used to. But I'm sure I'll get used to that the more I keep using it. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to mention, so we can get on with the project that I want to do today. So this is my gold XP farm that I built a long time ago now, like in my first couple of weeks on the world. And this is how I got all of my 3000 levels. But I've had a few issues with it in the last year or so. It just doesn't work as good as it used to. I can't collect all of the XP, so it crashes the game after a while. And there's a few other issues with it, like the tridents keep disappearing and stuff. And that's why over the last few months my XP hasn't really gone up at all. But yeah, you can see all of these gold blocks I've got from my years of using this farm. I got plenty of AFK time in this place. But I do have a challenge on this world to get to 10,000 levels of XP. And if I can't use the gold farm anymore, I have to make a new one. And that's actually what I did a couple of episodes ago now. So this is the new OP Armadillo XP farm. For some reason I went ahead and built 6 of these. I don't know if that's a little bit overkill or how much it's going to lag or if it's going to have any issues. I can always disable a few if I need to. But I did all the redstone behind here. I got all the armadillos in place, of course. But then I just kind of got burnt out of the project. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do up here. I know I need some auto brewing systems. I also need a way to get the zombies from the zombie spawner across here into the farm. So yeah, I just kind of got a little bit burnt out of this project, but now that I've took a few weeks away, I think I'm ready to get straight back on with it. So I did procrastinate a little bit more before finally getting to work on this. Sometimes the hardest part of a project is just placing those first few blocks. And once you've done that, you just get loads of ideas for things you can do. So I started by doing a little bit of decorating around the place. And I thought that now that lodestones are so cheap to craft, I might as well use them in the floor design. And with some of the decoration out of the way, I got to work on the brewers themselves. So I built 2 of these. I was thinking about building more, but I think 2 should be fine. And I built both of these at the same time, so I built a little bit on the left hand side and then I just mirrored it over on the right hand side. And I tried to design my own, but I couldn't make it very compact and I also couldn't make it the way I wanted it to work. I'm not the best with redstone, so I do usually end up following tutorials for these kind of projects, and that's what I did here. So I followed a video by Arch Thunder, which I will link down in the description. But I believe this design is by a guy called Adverse Lemon 2, but I couldn't find his tutorial on YouTube, so I'll link his channel down below. And it didn't take long to build these 2, they're pretty compact and pretty simple designs. So it was time to fill them up with items and then test to see if they actually work. So the way this system works, and this is what I couldn't figure out when I was trying to build my own, is that when the system is completely full, it will stop brewing potions, and if you take some potions away, it will instantly recognise there's some empty spots, and then it will start brewing more potions. So there's no buttons involved and I don't have to manually start this thing every time I need it. It will just automatically brew more potions when it realises it needs to brew more potions. So with the system up and running, my plan is to place all of the items that the system needs in these shulker boxes, and then it will automatically get transported into the system. So this is pretty basic stuff that I've done loads of times before with item water streams and some dropper clocks. But I did try to colour coordinate all of the different water streams just to make it look a little bit more interesting. And here's what I mean by colour coordinate. So I actually changed the colours of the shulker boxes to match the item that I'm going to put in them. So here is the Neverwort, so I've got a red shulker box. Any items that I put in there, which of course is only going to be Neverwort, will come through the system here. So it goes down a hopper, it goes over here somewhere, it gets shot out into the red water stream, and then it transports around the corner, up here, and then it drops into the Neverwort chest right there. So this is the same with all of them. So this one here is yellow, so that's for blaze powder. The dark grey is for gunpowder. And the light grey here is for the stone. And there's also some white tubes as well. There's one here and one on the opposite side. And this is for the glass bottles. So if I head up top here, this still isn't finished. I'll sort this out at some point. So I built these 2 systems up here. This is just a mirrored design again. So these are water bottle filling systems. I put the bottles down below, they come up the water streams, go up here into the system, into this double chest. And then this will just forever fill bottles into water bottles until this system is completely full. So once the brewing system below starts brewing potions, it will drop more water bottles into that system, and then this will automatically fill up some more bottles. So yeah, this is the system that I've got. I did try to decorate it, I do want this to look good, it is part of my base. But the idea is that I never really have to come back here, which is why I've got this glass. So the idea that I had was that I could just do everything from this room here. So that's why I can put all the items in the shulker boxes and they automatically get put into the system. And then I can just kind of watch everything through the glass and I don't have to go back there. But there is still some work that I want to do around here just to make it look a little bit better. I don't like these big empty walls here. But something I forgot to mention is that this system is actually very smart how it works. So when the system starts, it will put this music disc here into the jukebox, I think this is. Yeah, it is a jukebox, I sometimes get them a little bit mixed up. But when the system starts running, the record disc here will get put into the jukebox, and this is the shortest record disc that there is. So it will start playing, and then once the song is done, it will drop back down into the hoppers, and by that point the potions should be brewed, and then it will cycle back around into the jukebox again, and that will activate the machine to start the next brewing cycle. I don't really fully understand how the redstone works. You'd have to watch the tutorial that I followed to understand it a little bit better. But I just thought that that was a really smart solution to the problem that I was having. So I'm pretty happy with the progress that I've made. I've had this idea in my mind for a few weeks now. I just wasn't really sure how to start it. But as I mentioned, sometimes the hardest part of a project is just placing those first few blocks. Once you've got a few blocks out of the way, all of your ideas start coming together, and then it just becomes much easier to do. And now that I've got all of the potion side out of it, the last thing I really need to do before finishing the decorations is I need to get the zombies from the spawner over there into the system. So I'm going to drop them down these holes here. So this is the same on each side. This shouldn't be too difficult. I don't know exactly how I'm going to separate them. But yeah, I should be able to figure this out. So I quickly went ahead and did that off camera. There's not really too much going on here. But before I show you what I have done and show you the farm working, I've got a few other things that I quickly want to show. So first of all is to do with the challenges. So if you don't know, I get set challenges from my viewers and I try to complete them on the world. And one of the challenges is this one right here, to get 5 naturally spawned pink sheep. So if you look at the bottom, this was set in 2021 and I actually just completed it a couple of days ago. I was just doing a little bit of terraforming around my flower farm because I was planning to do a little bit of extra work around here, and I saw a bit of pink out of the corner of my eye. I assumed it was a pig, but then I realised it was a pink sheep. So I went ahead and brought it back to the base, which didn't take too long, it's not that far away. And I've put it in this room here with the other pink sheep. So I already had 4 of them when I built this room a few months ago now. So I had these 4 already, and then this is the 5th one that I've just found. So this is 5 naturally spawned pink sheep, and that is the challenge completed. And if you're wondering how I've only managed to find 5 of these in 20,000 days, a few people mentioned that when I posted this on TikTok. I'm sure there's been plenty more of these that have spawned and I've just not seen them. You know, there's definitely more than 5 in 20,000 days, but these are the only 5 that I've actually found, and I've name tagged them and brought them back to the base. And the other thing that I want to show quickly is that I did another map art project. I started doing these a while ago and I always knew as soon as I started doing them that at some point I was going to do one that was Leeds United related. I have mentioned this before in the past, but if you don't know, I do follow football in real life like a lot of people, and I'm a big Leeds United fan. So I always knew that I wanted to dedicate a map art project to that. And if you don't know, Leeds just got promoted back to the Premier League as champions. So it's a good time to be a Leeds United fan, and I thought that now would be a good time to finally do this project. And instead of doing the regular crest, because that's a little bit more complicated, I decided to do this simpler design. So this was the badge that we used back in the mid-70s, I think. And it's the badge that we had on the away kit this season. So it's a much simpler design. I actually really like this design. So yeah, this was just a fun little side project to work on. And I say little, but these map art projects do actually take a long time to make. And this is the final design. And like most of these things, it looks a little bit better when you stand a bit of a distance away. When you get closer, you can see like every single block, and some of them just don't look right. It is kind of hard to get these completely perfect. But anyway, I'm going to show the progress that I made here. And then the farm is actually ready, so I can give it a few tests. So in here, I've just got a little room. This is around a zombie spawner, and I got some lights in here that I can turn off, and then it will spawn the zombies. They kind of just get pushed to both sides. It's not very high tech, they just kind of shove each other to both sides. And you can see that there's a few in here, and then one fell down here as well. So I will get the name tags, I will name this one, and then I can drop him down into the water stream, and I'll actually turn these lights back on so no more spawn. And then if I kill some over here, because I only need one of these, so I'll kill this guy, and I think there's one there. So I will name tag him, and then I can drop him down as well. And I might have missed this one here, but they do come down here quite slow. Oh no, he's actually on his way down right now. So they just come down here, and then he will pop into the hole at the end. Just like that. And then this one will be on his way as well. And if I go down here, he should be in the spot where he needs to go. So right here, and because he's name tagged, he should never despawn. And the other one is also on the other side. So now all of the armadillos should be curled up into balls. So they should move around a little bit. So yeah, they're curled up, so this means that they can't take damage anymore. So I should be safe to put some cactus underneath all of these. So I've got 6 spots here underneath all of the composters. So this shouldn't do any damage to the armadillos. Well, you can see it's kind of trying to do damage, but because they're in their scared mode, it doesn't actually damage them at all. And I've also got all of the tridents in place here. So I think this is actually ready to test. So you can see that I used all of my levels. So what I want to do is just test this thing for 30 minutes and I want to see how many levels I get. So I was actually surprised at a couple of things when I did this test. So the first thing I guess is not that surprising, but I got to level 100 in 1 minute and 20 seconds about. So I did build this thing knowing that it's going to be a very efficient XP farm, but it is still nice to see it all come together and working and to see that it does actually give me a whole lot of XP very fast. And the second thing, which is actually kind of surprising, I'm kind of shocked how well my game handled this much XP. So I'm sure most people know this, but I do play it on console. So I currently have the Xbox Series S, which is quite an old model now, so I wasn't totally sure how it was going to handle it, but it seems to do a very good job. So after the full 30-minute test, I ended up with 324 levels. You will see that I'm actually level 328. It takes a little bit of time for the farm to fully shut down. So after 30 minutes, I was on level 324. And now that I've done this test with the full farm, there's 2 more tests that I also want to try. So for the first test here, I went ahead and I disconnected a little bit of the redstone. And that's because I wanted to do a test where only one of the armadillo farms was functioning. So I know that these farms are very efficient by themselves. And I just wanted to compare it to having 6 of them just to see what the difference is. How much more XP I get with 6 of them than I would if I only had 1. And the answer is actually quite a lot. So with only 1 farm running for 30 minutes, I ended up with 167 levels. So when you compare that to the 324, that's a big gap in XP. Of course, the more levels you get, the harder it is to get to the next level. And then the next test I wanted to do was with my old XP farm. So I went over to the gold farm and I started it up, and I was actually a little bit disappointed in this. I know that this farm has become slower over the years. It used to be much better than this. But this thing almost took me 20 minutes to get to level 100. When you compare that to my new XP farm that got me to level 100 in 1 minute and 20 seconds, that's a big downgrade. And I remember when I first built this thing and I got to level 100 in less than 5 minutes. So it's definitely got worse over the years, and if I do want to get to 10,000 levels, I had to build a new XP farm, so that's why I went ahead and did that. So I thought I'd write down the final results just so you can actually look at these on the screen. So I did a 30-minute test for all 3 of the farms, and of course I got way more XP when I had 6 of the armadillo farms running at the same time. With only 1 running I got 167 levels, and then with the gold farm it lost by a long way. I only got 122 levels, and I will try to defend the gold farm a little bit. I did build this thing for the first time about 5 years ago, and then I built it again on this world. It's a very old design. So the fact that it does still work is quite impressive. It was never going to be as efficient as some of the newer XP farms. So this project is almost done now. I just need to do a little bit more of the decorating. There's the roof up here. I need to sort the staircase out here. Then there's also underneath where the cactus go. I need to sort this out as well. So there's a little bit more work to do. But before I get on with that, there was a new update a few weeks ago now, which means there was some new items added to the game. So I've collected some of these just from flying around and finding them, and I got some from the wandering traders. But I do need to do a little bit more research to see what other items I'm missing and how to get them. I don't think this was a very big update, so I hope there's not many. Okay, I think I'm missing 3 items in total. And the first one, I need to come over to a birch forest, and there's one right here near the map art that I've actually just done. So I don't think it will generate naturally because this is an old world, but if I bone meal the floor, I think there's a chance that it will generate, and there's some right here. And now that I've got this, you can actually just farm it easily with bone meal. So yeah, I've got a little bit of this, I can just farm as much as I want. And for the last 2 items, I need to come over to a desert. Or I don't think I actually need to be in a desert for this, but I'm going to come over here anyway. So the first one is the short dried grass. And I think to get this, I can put this down, which I'm pretty sure was a tall dry grass. I don't know why this is small. But if I bone meal this, I get some of the short dried grass. And then I think I just need to use shears on this. So the one that I placed here was tall. I don't know if this is how tall that is. I thought it would be 2 blocks high, but it seems to be only 1 block high. But now I can get the short dried grass as well. And the other item is a cactus flower, so I was going to come over here and place a bunch of cactus, then wait for one to grow. But then I just spotted this one over here. So this is the flower. I don't know how to get this. If I break it with Silk Touch, I'm pretty sure the cactus would destroy it. So I'm wondering what happens if I destroy the cactus. And it does actually drop the flower. So this is what I think is the final item from the update that I needed to collect. I had another quick check and I can't see any more items that got added in the previous update. So I got 7 of the items here. If I am missing any, just let me know down in the comments and I will go and collect it in the next episode. Okay, so heading straight back to the XP farm, I went ahead and I added those finishing touches that I talked about. And there wasn't too much to do, so it didn't take long. But if you followed my content for a while, you'll know that doing the ceilings of these projects is always my least favourite part. And here is the finished project. So I'm just going to quickly go through all of the things that I added. There wasn't really too much. First of all is down below where the cactus go. I do remove these just in case they end up killing the armadillos, because it would be a pain to get them back in place. And I didn't really bother decorating this room too much. There's not a whole lot I could do with this space. But if I go up here, I did decorate the ceiling up here a little bit. And if I go upstairs again, I did the ceiling up here as well. As I mentioned, it's not my favourite part of doing any project. But I'm pretty happy with the design that I came up with here. It's all pretty basic because I've been using quartz in the ceiling for this project. So I just went ahead and did the same here. And I did just realise that I forgot to put the trapdoors in front of all of these sea lanterns. So I'll do that once I've stopped recording. And I don't like to have torches in my builds, but it looks a little bit dark in the middle here. I don't think it's dark enough for mobs to spawn, but I'm just going to keep these here for now. And I guess the final thing that I did here is the staircases. I'm not totally sold on the, I think this is sea and concrete behind here. But yeah, I tried a few different blocks, it didn't really work. So I'm just going to stick with that. I think I like it. I think maybe there's a better block that could go there. But I think I'll stick with this. I don't mind it too much. So yeah, this is the finished project, and this is going to be my main source of XP from now on. I have seen a few people saying this is going to get patched at some point. I don't think it will. I don't think this is a glitch or a bug that is going to get patched. This farm just uses the new infested potions and the fact that armadillos can't take damage if they're scared. It's just taking advantage of some game mechanics, not actual bugs. So I think it should be fine. And before I end the episode, another comment that I always get on my videos is how I don't get bored of my world. And I think this project here is a good example of why I don't get bored. I can see that my world is 20,500 days old. And this here could have been a very simple, quick project. I could have just built a simple armadillo XP farm, got a zombie, set it up. I could have done that in like 20 minutes. And that could have been my main source of XP. I see people do those kind of projects all the time, and they'll just do it out of cobblestone. They'll put no time or effort into it, they'll call it a finished project, and then they'll move on with the next project. But I'm not a fan of doing that. So like I've done here, I've built 6 of these things. I've put a lot of time and effort into making this place look good. And then I've done all of this extra stuff up here with the auto brewers. So a simple 20-minute project ended up taking me a lot longer than that, probably like 5 or 6 hours in total, maybe even more than that. And it was just a fun project to work on, and I'm pretty proud with the outcome. So just a little bit of advice: if you do get bored of your survival world a lot and you're never really sure what to do, just try go above and beyond with some of your projects rather than just doing the absolute bare minimum for every single one. It can be a fun way to play the game if you try to be creative and go a bit above and beyond rather than just following a tutorial and then calling it quits. But anyway, this is where I'm going to be ending the episode. You can see at the bottom I'm level 820. I am planning to use those levels, and then after that you will see my levels shooting up throughout the next few weeks as I use this farm more and more. So if you ever see my levels shoot up by like 600 in between clips, this farm is the reason for that. But anyway, I hope everyone likes this project, I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time.